Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a coast-to-coast winter storm that's being projected by a bunch of these models. Most models have this system coming from the northwest down through the Rockies and then back into the central and southern plains. It then takes a curve further to the north and to the east and moves up through the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and then back up through into the northeast. This is going to be one of the bigger winter storms that we've seen in a few years at least, that goes over such a wide area and brings a lot of snow to those areas. We're going to be timing it out for you guys, as well as discussing what you guys could be dealing with, and we're going to be generally just giving you my general idea of what I think will happen with this event. We're still about 3 or 4 days away from this crossing into the other side of the Rockies and moving into the central plains, so we still do have a lot of time for this to change, and I'm going to most likely upload this video, of course, and give you my initial thoughts on this. We'll likely have a forecast on another winter storm that's coming actually earlier for Saturday, Sunday time frame out tomorrow, and then we'll revisit this storm and see what's changed with it. So just to give you kind of an idea of what my schedule is going to be with these multiple winter storms, it's an active time period in terms of the weather, so I'm definitely going to try and keep you guys updated. So here's what the current National Weather Service page looks like. We have some winter weather advisories still up through parts of the Mid-Atlantic and even back down through into the Tennessee Valley. We also have some ice storm warnings still up for parts of Kentucky and Virginia, as well as for parts of southern West Virginia and parts of Kentucky as well. We have some more winter storm warnings in effect. Winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings actually up for central and southern Texas there, where we're dealing with that system that's going to be moving through Friday night into Saturday, and that's going to be dipping down into the southern plains. That is not the system that we're talking about in today's video. That's going to be the topic of tomorrow's video, but that's going to be lifting up from the southern states. It's going to head further to the north and to the east, and then we have potentially another wintry precipitation threat for parts of the northeast. So we're going to be talking about that in tomorrow's video. We have some winter weather advisories scattered throughout parts of the Rockies as well. Winter storm warnings in the pinks there, and even a few winter storm watches up for Washington. Even some of the bigger cities in the lower elevation, so Portland, Seattle, are going to get into some of the snowfall. They could even be seeing over 6 inches in some of those areas. I'll have my snowfall forecast out for them on my community tab on YouTube in just another couple hours from when I'm uploading this video. We have wind chill warnings in effect for parts of the northern plains, as well as some wind chill advisories anywhere kind of south of there, as well as a few more wind chill advisories back through into the interior and northeast. So it is definitely very, very active today in terms of watches and warnings, and in terms of the weather in general. Your high temperature for the entire United States yesterday was tied between 3 areas: Rio Grande Village in Texas. They got to 88 degrees, and so did 7 miles northeast of Miles City, Florida, and 5 miles southwest of Astor Park, Florida. Those are the highest temperature reports yesterday in the continental United States. And then your low temperature for the entire nation, or the entire lower 48, was in 19 miles south of Rudyard, Montana. They got to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The highest rain report yesterday was 6 miles northeast of Salem, Florida. They got 1.73 inches of rain, and then the high snowfall report as of yesterday was in Pulaski, New York, but they saw some more snow overnight. So now the totals, that was just from yesterday, the highest report yesterday, but overnight they got another about foot of snowfall in some of those areas. So those amounts are actually closer to 18 inches by this point in some of those areas. So here's what the European model is showing, and I want to time this out for you guys and give you an idea of what we're dealing with. So we see this Sunday storm, and we'll talk about this briefly in today's video, but we have a Sunday storm that's going to be coming out. This is Saturday by this point. So Saturday morning, we have this storm in the Gulf of Mexico. We have the polar vortex, which is back up through here, and these are going to be colliding as that moves to the south, as this one moves to the north. That's when we're going to start to see some of that wintry precipitation set up, and potentially another ice event for some of these areas, except this time it looks like it might reach up into the coastal northeast, where you might get in on some of that icy precipitation. Your system that we're talking about that's going to be that coast-to-coast storm is back through into the Pacific Northwest by this point. So this is by Saturday morning. Now, here to be by Saturday evening, we're seeing that Sunday storm continuing to move further to the north. We have a low pressure trying to form offshore, but we also have an Appalachian low pressure right here that's over parts of Kentucky, West Virginia, Western Virginia, so right there in the central Appalachians. And then we see that polar vortex, of course, pressing into the western end of this system. And because we have cold air wedging in, because we have another high pressure developing right up here, that's going to create a wedge of cold air, and that's how you get ice to form. So that's where we're going to see kind of a area of ice potentially for parts of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. This will likely be tomorrow's topic of discussion, just because the models really aren't handling this too well. They have a lot of different outcomes on what could happen with this. So this is by Sunday morning. We're dealing with this first system going out to the east. We see that low pressure off of the shore of Virginia and North Carolina. We see that snow spreading throughout the central plains. This one that I just highlighted right here in the central plains and the Rockies, that's your storm that's going to be going coast to coast. It just moved out from the Pacific Northwest, and now it's heading further to the south and to the east, and then it's going to take a curve further to the north and to the east. And this is when it really starts to get very, very interesting. So now areas in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas are dealing with more of that snow. That low pressure has moved off the shore by this point, so it's a few hundred miles southeast of about southeastern Massachusetts, and we're dealing with snow, freezing rain back through the northeast still. But the main story by this point is back through the southern plains, where we are dealing with some of that snow, and that snow could actually get fairly far to the south. Look at this next frame, and this isn't just one model. I'm not just handpicking one model. I'll show you in just a little bit after we look at timing this out, that we have multiple models, all of the main models showing that we have some sort of snow event and ice event potentially as we get into late this week and early next week. So this isn't just one or two models that are showing this. This has consistently been going on in the models, so we do have to pay attention to this. So we have the polar vortex right over here, and sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background here. We have the polar vortex right through here. We have snow stretched throughout parts of the central and southern plains and moving into the mid-Mississippi River Valley. We have ice setting up throughout parts of the Tennessee Valley by this point, and it's not really important to look at exactly where this is setting up. This line right here where you have the freezing rain or where the heaviest snow is setting up, this is going to shift to the north and to the south over the next couple of runs. What we really want to pay attention to is that we have a general storm system, a general area of snow, and I think one of the bigger factors with this is going to be where does this polar vortex set up. If this is further to the east, even by just maybe 50 to 100 miles, and this is set up maybe over the Great Lakes, well, now we have this system going up to the north, but then it's going to flatten out and go out to the east and potentially form a secondary low. And now parts of the northeast are in a lot more snow. If maybe this polar vortex is maybe further to the south, then we see this low pressure bringing that snow maybe all the way down to the coast, and then that system just goes out off the southeast. So we still have a lot of things that we have to figure out with this event, and there are still a bunch of different outcomes with what we could be seeing. So we're going to see this system pull away up through the Gulf of Mexico. We see some of that ice set up for the mid-Atlantic, and again, these fine details in terms of where that rain snow line is or where the icy precipitation sets up, this is all going to be determined within the next 5 days. We still have a few days before this system starts out, so we can't really be looking at some of these fine details, but again, the general shape of this is going to change on every model. We want to see a general trend, and right now the trend has really stayed quite consistent actually overnight. We see two low pressures, one over parts of the central Appalachians and one over the southeast, and then that's going to pull away further to the north. We see that by Wednesday, or actually Tuesday night into Wednesday, we're dealing with that snow through the interior northeast, rain along the coast. We'll have to see how valid that is and whether that cold air can press in and bring that into a mostly snow category for those areas, and then it moves out, and now parts of the interior northeast is dealing with some of that snow. So here are your snow totals, and I'm not really focusing on what the snow amounts are. I'm not too worried with I'm not too concerned at the moment with the snow totals, and I'm not really looking at, oh, this area is getting 17 inches, this area is getting 26 inches. That's most likely not going to happen. This is over-exaggerated in terms of the model's snowfall. The models usually want to cut these in half because they do like to overdo the numbers. So for example, this 8 dot right here, that's probably going to be 4 inches if you were to put that in and kind of slice it in half, because the models do like to exaggerate some of these systems. They do like to kind of hype them up a little bit. So cut these numbers in half, and really it isn't really too important to look at the numbers. This is just a good way of gauging where did the storm move through, and you can see it started out in the northwest, it moved down through the southern plains, and then it went back up into the northeast and the Great Lakes. And you can definitely tell this went from the west coast and dipped down through the southern states and then moved up into the northeast. This is one of those rare coast to coast systems that really throughout the entire duration of the event from coast to coast is a big storm. We see these storms go across the entire United States all the time, but we don't see these storms with such magnitude always go through the entire United States. Usually the bigger storms start out in the Gulf of Mexico and then move out to the north and to the east, or they start out in the west coast, hit into the Sierra Nevadas, and then kind of die out because of all the rocky terrain. So this type of storm is very, very rare, and if it does actually play out, this would be an interesting one definitely to forecast. Here's what the GFS model is showing, and I'll kind of flip back and forth. You can see that we really don't have too much of a difference. You see a little shift further to the south on the GFS, a little shift to the north on the Euro, but the general trend is basically the same. We have the same coast-to-coast system, heavy amounts through the northeast or the northwest, back through the southern states, and then into the northeast as well. And we see that general coast-to-coast shape with kind of a U shape where you have your snowfall totals and your heaviest snowfall totals. And again, you could cut these amounts in half. The amounts really aren't too important. It's a good way to gauge what the models were producing in terms of where the heaviest snow was and where the storm actually tracked through. Here's what the Korean model shows, just to give you another perspective, and it's a little bit different, but you can still tell that we have all that snow back through much of the country. And if we look at another model, here's the UK Met model, and it has basically the same thing, some lower amounts, but the amounts again aren't too important at this moment. We need to figure out the track, which is going to determine the amounts, but you can tell that we still have that general U shape in terms of the track, with heavier snow to the north, and that dips down from the northwest all the way down through the southern states and then into the northeast there, where you have more of that snowfall. So it is definitely a very, very interesting setup. If we look at the Weather Prediction Center over the next 3 days, this is their expected snowfall accumulations, and anywhere in the greens, that's where you're looking at less than 6 inches, 6+ inches in the blues, 15+ inches in the purples, the pinks, the reds, and we see those areas for the northwest. Even Seattle, for example, is getting right around 10 inches on their forecast, so they are still expecting a lot of snowfall. Portland would be right on that line of 8 inches according to the Weather Prediction Center, so they are still hinting at quite a lot of snowfall possibly, and that does stretch into the central plains. This is only through Sunday morning, and of course the bulk of the storm for the eastern 2/3 of the country is after Sunday. So here's what the Weather Prediction Center has for the chance of seeing about 2 to 3 inches of snow on day 4, which would be Sunday into Monday. So we have, they rarely do this, by the way, they have a 70 to 90% chance back through Texas and Oklahoma. The last time we've seen a 70 to 90% chance that hasn't been in the Rockies was very, very a very long time ago. I can't even remember when the last time they put it that wasn't in some of the higher terrain of the Rockies. So this is definitely a rare occurrence, and when they do this, you know that they have some sort of guidance, or they have some sort of agreement that there will be some snowfall over these areas and some amount of decent snowfall. So this is the chance of 2 to 3 inches on Sunday. Here's the chance for Monday. So that shifts further to the east, of course, as the system progresses forward, and they actually have a widespread 50 to 70% chance through the lower Ohio Valley. That is, again, a rare thing. They rarely put out that big of an area of 50 to 70% on their day 5 outlook, and then even on their day 6 outlook, they actually have on their day 6 outlook from Tuesday to Wednesday, they actually have a widespread 50 to 70%. That's very, very rare on their day 6 outlook, and they actually have a few spots of 70 to 90% chance in the higher terrain of central New England. So And this is an interesting setup. There's a lot of confidence that we'll see something, but there's very low confidence in details of this event. And it's definitely one of the more interesting storms to track. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do the snowfall forecast. I might need to make 3 different maps for all the different areas in the country. So it's definitely gonna be a new experiment for me and how I'm gonna try and track the storm for you guys and give you forecasts on it. But it's also definitely a learning experience, because this is the last time we saw something like this was probably back in 2017 or 2018, where we saw a massive coast-to-coast system like this. At least that's being forecasted right now. So I'll keep you updated. Tomorrow's video will be on that smaller storm that comes out of the Gulf of Mexico and moves up to the north and to the east, and we'll have your snowfall forecast out on that one most likely tomorrow or maybe by Saturday. So I'll also have my snowfall forecast for the northwest out later today on my community tab on YouTube, so you can go check that out as well. And I'll keep you guys updated. If you did like the video, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends and family, and turning on notifications as well, so you never miss another upload. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.